Hello and welcome to Ednews-TV. I am your host, John Ayomide. Today we are joined by Mr. Kirupa-haran, General Secretary of the Tamil Center for Human Rights. Today we discuss the issues that the Sri Lankan Tamil community has experienced for decades of displacement, loss, and challenging in rebuilding their lives. This conversation aims to focus specifically on the humanitarian realities, the needs of affected communities, and what steps can help ensure justice, dignity, and long term stability for all. Mr. Kirupan, thank you for joining us today.
Hello, John. Thank you.
Just dive in for the question. For those of people that are less familiar with the Sri Lanka's recent history, can you briefly explain why the humanitarian challenges Tamil civilians faced during the conflict and after the conflict?
I would like to say something briefly about the history of the island. The history before Sri Lanka was colonized by Portuguese, Dutch, and Britain, there were three kingdoms in the island. That is, one kingdom from the north and east, covering, and the rest two. One was in Kandy, another one was in the south, known as Kotte. These three kingdoms existed before it was colonized. The first it was colonized by Portuguese. All these three kingdoms remained separately and they ruled that place. Then Dutch did the same. When Britain arrived, these three kingdoms were there. But in 1833, they amalgamated the three kingdoms together, saying that it's easy for administration. So all the three kingdoms came into one in 1833. So since then, the problem between the ethnic problem started. It's an ethnic conflict between the Sinhala Buddhists and the Tamil. Tamil, we are nation. We have our territory, defined territory. We have our own language, the culture. All these are there to be qualified as a nation. So after 1833, Britain still remained, and they gave the independence in 1948. When they gave the independence, what happened was they gave the power to the numerical majority Sinhalese because they had two kingdoms in that island. So, even before 1833, there were problems. 1948 was the peak hours of the problem started about our political rights. So, various Tamil leaders had pact signed with the various prime ministers, or they didn't implement the pact and they thrown all those pacts in the bin. And so, in conclusion, I can say since 1948, first three decades of non-violent struggle by the political leaders. Then it started armed struggle. Tamil militants got together and started the armed struggle. Then that also came to an end in 2009 May. So since then, what is happening there is bizarre. What is happening there is bizarre. When we look at the humanitarian situation, you see, time to time, there were communal riots against the Tamils. It started in 1958. And until 2009, there were many riots. And in between, many massacres. People were displaced. And there were economical embargoes. Those sort of things happened in the north and east. So when we look at the present situation, Sri Lanka is well known presently because of the flood and cyclone and all that disasters. It has affected the whole island. So, upcountry was affected area, in the meantime, south, north and east also. But the relief aid, I am in Paris, but in the meantime, what I gather here, there are discrimination among the relief aid supplied to the north and east as well, because it's a Tamil area. So, relief aid, actually, they are getting a lot of aid from various countries, neighboring countries, India, Maldives, Pakistan, various countries are giving them. For the north and east Tamil diaspora in various countries, they are sending aids, money to rehabilitate and develop those areas.
Okay, just talking about the young generations of Tamils community. How is the younger generations of Tamils affected by this long-term instability, and what type of support do they need the most?
In fact, you see, 2009 May, it was a real disaster. What happened was it was not the beginning of the genocide. The genocide started against the Tamil from, I will say, from 1983. 83 was the worst period the communal riots affected the Tamil. Then, during the war and all, even though economic embargo and lot of shortcoming in food supplies and all, after 2000 May, nearly, I think, 300,000 Tamils ended up in a camp where they were seeking help of the Sri Lankan army, Sri Lankan government. And they actually, I will say, they gave some food supplies and all. In the meantime, the freedom fighters ended up, half of them were killed, nearly 3 to 4,000, I think. They surrendered to the Sri Lankan forces. But now, when we look at the present situation, the younger generation is disappointed with what is happening in the island for the last 15 years. The war ended in 2009, but various government has come into power after that. They always say something about the political rights of the Tamils. They say that even before the end of the war, the government was in power. They said they will give the political solution immediately. That time they had 2/3 majority in the parliament, but they did nothing regard to the ethnic conflict affected Tamils. So until today, what is happening is a talk show. Various government, they come and simply pass their time and they say goodbye to the people. But politically, regard to the Tamil, nothing happened in the island. Here I must point out another thing. When we talk about Tamils in the island of Sri Lanka, Tamils from the north and east are people living there for generations, thousands of years. When British colonized the island, they brought some Indian from Tamils to work in their plantation. Those Tamils are living in upcountry. So there are two different category of Tamils. We are native Tamils from the north and east, and there are Tamils in the tea plantation living for hundreds of years. But they also, half of them were repatriated to India. Those who were living there were franchised, and they had a lot of difficulties in the past. Anyway, why I am talking about two categories of Tamil? The government easily tell the people, these people came from India within the last 100 years, not the native Tamils from the north and east. Those Tamils who came to work in the tea plantation. My last point here, you see, when Britain colonized various countries, I will say Sri Lanka, India, Mauritius, South Africa, they have taken, also Malaysia, those countries, same period they brought the Tamils here to Ceylon that time, they took some Tamils from Tamil Nadu to those countries. What happened to those countries, the Tamils in those countries? Today, they are no more as laborers or picking tea leaves in, for example, South Africa, Mauritius, and Malaysia. Whereas these people, even today, they are the people building the economy of the island. Tea plantation is the number one resources for Sri Lanka to build their economy. But that is not happening here. So this is the saddest part of the Tamil came from India. They are still in their slums and all that and working hard to build the economy of Sri Lanka, but they are not looked after very well. So when we talk about the younger generation of the Tamils from native north and east, some are in real difficulties in the north and east since the war ended. Of course, diaspora is trying to do something internationally. Non-violence was failed. Then the armed struggle also failed. Now it's a question of diplomatic struggle. So younger generation is involved in diplomatic struggle in various Western countries, especially in Canada and UK. So they are meeting people. For example, I am working in the UN Human Rights Forum since 1990. So these days there are 3 sessions in the United Nations Human Rights Council. We attend, we explain. There are resolutions on Sri Lanka. This is the present situation of the Tamils in Sri Lanka.
Okay, just for the last question, without wasting your time, is there any sign of progress or positive community initiative that you've seen or you've just heard from somewhere, and they hope for the future of Tamil people? What are the hopes for the Tamil people?
To be frank, politically, I don't see any progress made by the rulers of Sri Lanka. I mean, Sinhala Buddhists are the rulers of the country. They don't have any sympathy, or they don't go into the history. The history, what they talk, is all fictional. Now, when we look at us, the Tamils, soon after the 2009 May, soon after 2009 May, we are also divided into many groups. Those days we were united to the maximum. Any conflict, there are divisions, but this conflict has divided many groups, and I won't say we are also very powerful enough. In the meantime, Tamil leaders within the country, they are not matured. They don't know how to do the negotiation. They don't know whom to talk, what to do. So we are in a dilemma presently. This is the situation. No progress in Sri Lanka about the political rights of the Tamils.
Mr. Kirupa, thank you for sharing your insight and shedding the light on this kind of humanitarian challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.